Celtics Talk Podcast is presented by 24autogroup.com. New England gets more at 24.
What's up? Jeezy's going to have to edit that one. But it sounds appropriate on a night where Jaylen Brown went to the podium and sounded off, so I thought I'd open the program by cursing.
I would not have bet that one. Yeah, that was a long shot for me.
So, Giles, we're going to talk a little bit about this game. Celtics, I wouldn't even say a disappointing loss, a fun playoff vibe game. Second night of a back-to-back. They're gritty, gave themselves a chance, but Victor Wembanyama is a difficult man. And he came in and took over, I thought, the last 250 of that game. And you know what? I'm just gonna throw it out there. Your headline. Just go ahead and throw it out there.
Yeah, Spurs, Wemby, too tall a task for Celtics this time. So I felt like even at halftime they're up 55-50. The Celtics shot the ball fairly well from three. Spurs really struggled, but it didn't feel like the game was over by any stretch. It was a grind. I thought it was a fun game overall, but as you put it, like the last 5 minutes. When Victor Wembanyama went back out there, it was Wemby impacting the game on the defensive end, first and foremost, and then hit those two big, 15-footers right around there, those two huge 15-footers. And the
off
Spurs
movement, he'd be on the wing, and they just have him coming across, and you got poor Baylor Shireman, who's given up a foot, which is just wild to begin with.
I mean, anyone's given up a foot, realistically.
Well, that's fair, too. And, I mean, Baylor Shireman played one of the best games of the season, played his butt off out there, and there's only so much you can do when you're going up against a Wemby. And when Wemby's just getting to that free throw line extended and making that sort of shot, kind of just got to tip your cap. I'm sure there's stuff they'll scheme up if you ever saw this team again, and maybe in the second meeting. But, yeah, a lot of it is just wow, that's Wemby. That is your problem. He's big.
He's big, and, the other thing, too, was they didn't really have to deal with Castle too much in this game. He struggled. He was 3 of 16. But De'Aaron Fox was good for them. Keldon Johnson was huge, I thought, in that second half. And then Wemby and Luke Cornett. Luke Cornett with a big tip jam, and obviously it's like even if you're not dealing with Wemby, you're trying to get by Luke, which is Celtics, Derek White and Jaylen Brown did with left hands, a couple times late there, but it felt like the Celtics had to force some really challenging looks from three as a result of San Antonio's defense, which was driven by Wemby.
Yeah, and the Spurs had a familiar face making a big return to TD Garden. Kelly Olynyk had a big three there late in the second half. I didn't even know he was playing.
It was part of a 4-point play.
I thought he was chilling. Yeah, that's right. They whistled the foul, right? So look, it was the part of the storyline tonight was Luke coming back home. Luke was good. When they go French vanilla, double big at the finish line, I mean, good luck. I thought Scal put it right. You can have kind of Wemby roaming, and you still got to deal with Luke at the rim. That doesn't even feel fair. You shouldn't be able to have the 7'4" guy wandering around just making everybody miserable, and still have to deal with Luke Cornett, who is just continues to emerge and just be one of the highest IQ guys when he's out there. So I thought the Celtics had some fun moments in this game. JB hit a couple skyscrapers over.
He had a fantastic first quarter. I mean, he has had some amazing quarters this year, and I think it was either 12 or 13 points. That because of the competition, that might have been his one of his best first half quarters of the season. It's
true, and it's funny because there's a plenty to choose from, but I'm with you, right? And especially because he didn't get to the free throw line, which we'll get into in a minute. He had to work for those points every time, and yet again, we knew Jaylen would be up for this one. I thought it was telling. I think he was at 32 minutes going into the fourth quarter, and normally he rests to start that frame, and he was back out there. And maybe that conspired. He did look pretty gassed. I mean, he looked gassed on Friday night against the Raptors towards the finish line. Then had some crazy dunk, and I was like, okay, maybe he's got a little bit left in the tank. I thought he was running on fumes at times in this game, and that probably contributed to some of the miscues at the end. But credit to Jaylen. He wanted to be out there. He definitely took on that challenge early. Wasn't afraid to go at Wemby. Tried to dunk on him in the first half. And just continues to make things happen. I know people are going to be upset about the fourth quarter and some of the turnovers. I mean, De'Aaron Fox the swipe was pretty good.
Yep.
And you got to tip your cap. There are nights where I come in here, I lose my mind. I'm like, the Celtics lost that game. They did something that kind of fumbled it away or could have been better in spots. Tonight's the night where it's like, no, Wemby came back in with 2:50 to play and just took over the game. And that happens sometimes. That's why you tip your cap to another MVP level dude.
Yeah, I agree. I thought it was just like you look at the final score too, 195. Like that's just
old school.
Screams like a playoff defensive grinded out type of game. And the Spurs, I thought, just made more stops and then made a couple more shots down the stretch.
All right, my headline is Jaylen Brown's $25,000 investment, and that number might go up. So Jaylen Brown ranted after this game, and now let's a couple preface here. Before we started, Tom Giles looked at me and said, "I hate talking about officiating," and I am the same exact way. When we go onto our post-game show, like usually Twitter is flooded with, "Oh, the Celtics didn't get any calls," blah blah blah, and I'm like, I'm not doing this. I think the Celtics as a whole, to set the table, are not a good team at drawing fouls in general, right? Like they would play what we would term a finesse game, right? Like they love the three-point shot. And that's not to say that Jaylen drives all the time. And like Peyton Pritchard gets into the paint, but they're not the best at like maximizing contact or getting calls. Now, do they get an appropriate amount of whistles? That's what can be debated. So Jaylen Brown already upset from earlier this week when the Celtics did not get a lot of whistles against the Denver Nuggets. Jaylen in that game drove 31 times and only had one foul. So 3.2% of his drives. He averages about 9.5% getting a whistle. Beats about 2 more fouls off those drives. Doesn't sound like a lot when in a 4-point game, 6-point game. It matters. Yeah. So tonight, after the Celtics shoot fourth free throws, right?
4. They were 3 of 4 from the free throw line.
And this was the second fewest in team history, and I believe it's the lowest in the NBA this year. Those might be. I might have just made those up. But regardless, 4 is a ridiculously absurd low number. And so Jaylen didn't even go to the podium. He just stood up in the locker room and was like, "All right, we'll play it for you, but I'll give you the Cliff Notes version here." He was like, "All right, I'm mad. I'm going to take the fine. The officiating sucked tonight." And
that's paraphrasing for sure.
Yeah, that is paraphrasing for sure.
I feel like honestly, they just got away with a lot, and I'm tired of the inconsistency. Like, I'll accept the fine at this point. I thought it was some bull. Tonight, I thought that, I think they're a good defensive team, but they ain't that damn good. I thought and I hope somebody can just pull up the clips, because it's the same every time we play a good team. It's like they refuse to make a call, then call touch fouls on the other end, and that's just extremely frustrating, bro. Like, like we play hard. We are outplaying our expectations. We compete hard on the defensive end, and they reward the other team with touch fouls. And we go down there, and guys are allowed to get away with. I hope just somebody please pull it up. Every time we play a good team, the inconsistency is crazy. I'll take fine. Curtis, all them dudes was terrible tonight. I don't care. They can find me whatever they want, but it's crazy. Every time we play a good team, it's the same bull. Somebody please pull up the clips. I'm irate how they officiated the game today. If we can't get to the free throw line and teams are allowed to be physical and bump us off our spots and et cetera, then it's hard to win games like that. We shot 4 free throws tonight and lost the game by 4. Not to say that's the whole game, the whole story. We got to be better in spots. I got to be better in spots. But goddamn, like, I'm driving to the basket. I'm physical. I don't flop. I don't shy away from contact. I go up strong, I'm athletic, and nothing. I had 0 free throws tonight. The inconsistency is crazy. Give me the fine.
So my question to you, Giles, before I give you my take on it, valid from Jaylen. It's a low. That would be a leading question. Is Jaylen validated in spouting off?
I think watching the game live. Because I know Joe Mazzulla was asked this question as well before we heard from Jaylen Brown. And I kind of asked you and Eddie,
right.
Do you feel like – I was surprised. It was one of those numbers. You looked at it, you're like, oh, they only got 4 free throw attempts. In the gameplay, because it was such a good game, I was never fixated on that number. That is, as you said, an extremely low number. I think I would have to go back and look at it and see if there were times where he was fouled going to the basket. But coming out of it, I thought if anything, there were a couple of times during gameplay where it was like, oh, that was a late whistle against the Celtics. And it was like, that was a late whistle. Right. I think people get very annoyed with late whistles, whether or not the call is correct. And I thought a couple of times, like, even though it was a late whistle, it was probably the correct call. So I think that the number just not getting to the free throw line at all, he has done this a couple of times, and it has worked out, right?
Yeah, so I mean, right off the Nuggets game, and like the other night against Toronto, first play of the game, he gets a whistle and ends up going to the line 13 times, I think, in that one.
But there was another time in November.
Yeah, every time he's done it. Like, so he sounded off after the Utah game where he got tripped on that late game play, which you like pretty much said like the refs messed up, and the NBA was like, yeah, you're right, so it didn't fine him. Vented after a game in November, same deal. The league was kind of like, yeah, you danced around it just enough, we're not going to fine you. This one he's going to get fined because he called for it.
Yeah.
And he got his money's worth. Maybe it will be like normally it starts at 25. I'll be interested to see if the number goes up because he was ready to like name check people and calling everybody out. But so I'm glad you mentioned I'd want to go back and look. So I did. Like I sat there while we were watching the end of the Bears-Packers game, and I watched all the first half possessions for the Celtics, and actually both sides. And what I will tell you is the refs let it go. It felt like the refs swallowed the whistle for much of that first half. Did they call some late whistles against the Celtics? Yeah, but I felt like Spurs earned them, right? Like I didn't sit there and go, oh, that was kind of ticky-tack. It felt like when the Celtics got whistled, it was clear. Most of the whistles were floor fouls anyway. Like you remember Ugo grabbing Wemby on a flyby. Like most of the stuff was on the floor, and Jaylen got fouled on the floor a couple times as well. I probably saw 3 possessions where either Jaylen was like motion and demonstrative towards the officials, like why am I getting a call, and 2 of them were probably worthy of a whistle where he got knocked off a little bit, but again, like the refs were letting it go. I'll be interested to watch second half and see if it changed my opinion at all. But I think I'd be steadfast. I think it's more the number feels egregious. I'm sure this is like coming off of that Nuggets game. It makes it just amplifies the fact that they have been getting calls, and I think he's trying to just kind of get his point across because he knows how vital it is. And let's face it, when you're in an MVP race too. Like, getting to the line 8, 9 times a game, It matters. It changed a 27-point game and a 4-point loss and makes it a 35-point game and probably a win for the Celtics. So I get what he's saying. I think the Celtics can do more to earn their trips to the free throw.
He played 43-plus minutes as well, right? So that was a season high on the second night of a back-to-back. So to your point, if you're going to – and he still scored 27 points. If you're going to get those numbers up, like if – You would like to get to the free throw line if you're him. And there have been times this year where he has gotten to the line a lot more. This game, Chris, again, you went back and watched. Did you watch any of the second half possessions?
I have not watched the second half possessions. Luckily the Packers threw an interception and helped me get to into this podcast studio. It will be interesting. Like I think they started whistling a little bit more in the second half. And the Celtics certainly weren't the beneficiary of that. I was looking, doing the math, you can tell. So Jaylen would have had 17 shots inside the arc. You would suspect a good amount of those were from the mid range. I'm trying to pull up his shot chart to just see how many around the basket he had. If you're telling me let's say he took 11 shots around the basket and got no calls or 1 call, whatever the case may be. That's again, I think that it's fair to be a little bit frustrated about that. I think it's also going to be frustrating that when he turns on Oklahoma City every night and SGA lives at the line, or you watch Harden, or all these guys who just are foul magnets. It's probably like, why don't I get that same respect? And I think as he starts to enter the conversation more about MVP and as people start taking notice of it, I think he's just, look, Jaylen has been very, very vocal about things he likes, he doesn't like, Do
you think that helps or hurts when trying to get the superstar whistle?
Great question. In general, I would think when I see guys complaining on the floor, and this used to be my gripe with Tatum. Tatum would sit there, hands up in the air, not getting back on defense, like demonstrative to an official, and I don't think that helps you. Like, in that moment, I don't think that ref is like, oh, I owe him one. I think that ref's like, that guy's showing me up a little bit. And so I think there's always a balance. I think it's just much better to put your head down, maybe go pull the referee aside at a whistle and say, hey man, like, and I think I saw Jaylen do it at one point. He was like talking about how hand on a hip, and the Spurs were absolutely handsy in this game. But I think there's a crew that might have called 5 of those, and this crew was just sort of like, we'll let that go. We're gonna make them earn it to get to the line. So the things like this where a guy comes out and shouts about it post game, it could go either way. I think it does. Refs are certainly aware of this. The refs the other night were certainly aware of what he said after the Nuggets game, and he got a great whistle against probably the best whistle of the year against the Raptors in terms of like I thought there were some close fouls and he got the tilting it his way. And we'll see in Indiana, does he get a bunch of calls or does the league like be like, all right, enough of this jawing, or else you're really gonna get an even stricter whistle.
So. Yeah, I guess that's my further question. Do you think it helps or hurts coming out of this?
Time will tell.
But it feels like it has in the past, as you just referenced. Like Friday night against Toronto, it's worked, and that's why you called it a $25,000 investment.
And I think like after what he said after the Nuggets game was like maybe he probably knew he wasn't going to get fined. He got his point across, and it helped for one game. But if you want that steady whistle, you got to plunk some cash down. The last person to get it was Ime Udoka. We know he's not bashful about telling officials when they suck. So, like I think over the course of a year, a superstar player and a good coach will probably make that investment a couple times. It's not the worst thing to go to bat for yourself, and that's why we'll see if it's an investment. Maybe I'll sit here in a week and I'll be like, hey, you know what? Kind of went the other way. Kind of put him on the radar, made him a target of these referees, and it can go either way. But if you're not going to advocate for yourself, it's not going to change. And so
Fair.
we'll see how the rest of the league.
Let me ask you another question off of that though, because you brought up that the Spurs were handsy. And again, like this game, do you feel like this game was officiated more like a playoff game? Is that one way to put it?
I think that's why it had a little bit of a playoff vibe as well. And plus, I mean, think about it. Like it wasn't like teams didn't shoot 3-pointers, but that low score is indicative of a game that didn't have a lot of foul calls overall and just kind of like gritty, grimy basketball. I mean, what was the 47 total points in the fourth quarter. 43 in the third. So like those are like super low numbers for a half. For the Celtics only score 40 second half points. They score 50. Like I just think it shows that one, possessions were tough, that teams were playing good defense. Even with Wemby making ridiculous shots, like Shireman and Walsh and Ugo were playing their butts off. And so I feel like it had that feel, and I think the rest refed it like that, where they knew two of the better teams, like second night of a back-to-back, like no one wants to be sticking at TD Garden until 11:30 at night. Like, keep this thing moving.
Well, yeah, but I
they
guess...
got reservations at Strega or something. They got to get out of there. Having a vehicle you can rely on, that's important. That's why you can rely on 24 Auto Group. They will treat you like family. And that's because they are family owned and operated. They're honest, easy to work with, and they just get it. Whether you're looking for something sporty, something luxurious, or just a solid everyday ride, 24 Auto Group always comes through. With 9 brands and 11 locations across New England, there's something for everyone. And here's the best part. They've got the knack to save you more on a new or pre-owned vehicle, and the knack to pay you more for your trade, up to $2,400 over book value. You can even drive home with just $24 down. So if you want the best deal without the runaround, go see my guys at 24 Auto Group, because you always get more at 24. Online at 24autogroup.com.
I guess my question is then, how do the Celtics, because this is going to be the last time they play in a game like this. You know what I mean? And they could face a game like this more often in the postseason. So how do they combat teams that are a little more handsy, that are a little more physical, and are those tougher matchups for them?
Yeah, 100%. I think what you can see this week was like the Nuggets' size and their physicality bothered the Celtics. Probably one of Jaylen's tougher games in terms of decision making and getting to the basket. And I think you saw some shades of that today. Like I'm not going to quibble. 11 made shots, 6 inside the arc. Still less than Jaylen typically makes. He was great with the 3-point shot was working tonight, and those rainbows over Wemby were great. I think they have to be better. They're not high free throw team overall. The Spurs are not a high free throw giving up team. So even if you know that going in, if you're not getting a whistle, I just think you have to be appropriately physical to the basketball, like or physical to the basket. So you have to know that, like, look, you need to make the referees blow the whistle. And again, I wonder if I'll change my mind at all watching the second half. But it just didn't feel like the Celtics were doing anything that would have made these officials say, okay, like we need the whistle. That they're attacking with the right physicality. So it's on them.
I got to ask a side question now.
Ooh.
Because I was sitting there watching it was like 10 minutes watching the end of the Bears-Packers game, and you somehow watched back every possession of the first half on your phone that quickly.
I had to scrub through. So
do you have them marked? Like,
no,
I just want to get I want to peel back the curtain a little bit.
I appreciate this. It's funny. Like, so I was doing it on YouTube TV, and they had like the scrub forward 30 seconds. So, but then you would miss a possession, so I'd have to go back 15.
Okay.
So I was hopscotching around a little bit. What really helps is overnight the NBA uploads all the plays, and you can literally, like, what I'll do tomorrow is I'll sit there and I'll click watch every Jaylen Brown play, right? And then I'll get a better gauge of him individually, and then maybe I'll watch the game itself and kind of do it. But yeah, it's an exact science. And then I'd like fast forward and the play would already be over, and I'm like, oh man.
I'm impressed though. Like the fact that you came in here like, yeah, just watch back every single play in the first.
I just said I got to at least have some gauge before I go off. So because Abby came on the pod on Friday night and she or whatever
night.
Yeah, again, and sounded off and was very up in arms about defending that Jaylen deserved better calls. And I was like, you know what, I don't do this. Let enough. And then I saw the box score the next day and the 31 drives and all that. I'm like, all right, let's watch the tape. And I was like, yeah, he probably did deserve a couple calls in there. Again, I don't think we're talking about an egregious number. Players, of course, think it's like holding in the NFL. You feel like it happens on every single play, and it's on the ref to decide whether it reaches a level of, and every crew is different. But, one or two calls does tip things a little bit. And so if his squawking helps deliver that, then it would be worthwhile.
Okay. Do you want to move on to some of the other?
Yeah. Do you have anything else? I have a thin list of stuff.
Well, I think Baylor Shireman is worth talking about. I thought he had some great moments in this game. He brought great energy, a couple big threes.
He was my headline before Jaylen came to the podium.
So when Sam Hauser is a late scratch and you got Ugo Gonzalez making the start, you're thinking you're going to get a lot of Ugo, you're going to get a lot of Jordan Walsh. Baylor Shireman played more minutes than Walsh and Gonzalez combined, and I did not see that coming.
Yeah, and so Joe definitely got mad at Walsh. He missed 2 box outs in the first half. Joe, he had a fun exchange in the post game, but like essentially, I think we knew like if you're not going to put in the effort, and Walsh has got to know, right? Like he's gone through a stretch here where he can't take a play off or he can't miss a box out. Like they're on him, and so when it happened twice. He got the hook. Ugo gets the start. I liked it because I thought it was an interesting way to kind of just start to go at Wemby, throw different bodies at him, but like essentially you're telling your wings, you guys are guarding them. Good luck and figure it out. And I thought they did, and I thought Shireman just competed, and he's done this all season. Like he's been very good, especially drawing offensive fouls. I think he's creeping up on Derek White in terms of most offensive fouls drawn, not necessarily just charges, but any sort
push
of running
out,
into a moving screen, like all these stuff. He's very good at getting calls, and so I think that helps you against a guy like Wemby, where you got to like be able to take a little bit of physicality, maybe catch an elbow. But I just thought he just tried to get into that jersey and make him uncomfortable. This was, to me, you said, is this Baylor Shireman's best game while we were doing the post game? And I was like, I'm trying to think of another one. And it turns out the Pistons game.
That Detroit game the night before Thanksgiving.
So that's really encouraging, right? Like 2 of his best games are coming against the 2 best teams you've probably played this season, or 2 best teams you've seen. So, that's a good sign. Maybe throw the Rockets in there too, but that game.
And he had a lot of points in the Rockets game.
Yeah, all right. Well, then that.
But again, that game, I think you have to throw that whole thing out. It was a little.
Yeah, that was a schedule loss. And Kayla said that afterwards. She said she was trying to draw a parallel between the 2 games, and I said, the Rockets game I just can't take seriously. It was such a schedule loss. You knew the Celtics were toast going in, and you can never want to just write off a game. But if you're going to write one off, that was the one. Like the Rockets were a tough matchup. That's back when the rebounding woes were super prevalent, and you just knew they were gonna get wiped that night. But tonight felt like, even on the second night of back-to-back, even without Sam, they kind of grinded. San Antonio didn't have a full complement either, and so it all evens out in the wash. I liked I'll walk away from this one, like I said. I won't be fretting what the Celtics didn't do. I'll be like, okay, a reminder that, man, Spurs are a roadblock along this map for a while now.
Yeah, but again, that San Antonio, you can only face them in one spot in the final or in the playoffs, and that's the finals. You know what I mean? So it's that's the Western Conference's problem until you get to the championship series.
So I saw some, and I never want to give the Twitter trolls too much energy. People were a little upset. Pritchard against the better teams this year has sometimes struggled, especially teams with size. It all seems to revert back to, the Celtics do have a little bit of issue with physical teams. It's funny because it's the play that jumps to mind is his little finger roll getting past Wemby and rolling it up. He's been good at getting to the paint and making things happen, but only 2 of 9 tonight. 4 points, a -1.
And he's, by the way, been, I think, their best scorer coming off second night
right.
back-to-back.
This felt like if you were going to win this game, it felt like it was going to be a Pritchard night. And so a little surprising that he's struggling. Any concerns about him long-term, good teams, physical teams?
No.
Okay.
No.
I don't think I'm there either. But it is good. It's just another reminder. When you play the really good teams, you need your best players to be good.
I think if Wemby's going to be a deterrent for anybody getting to the rim, he's also going to be a deterrent for Peyton Pritchard's mid-range game.
Fair. Simon's quiet. Bench didn't have a great night. 26 points.
I thought Luka Garza had a
that's
pretty
fair.
good night.
I thought he brought some good energy. This is one of the few times that he hasn't been a positive. That'll put a dent in his net rating. But the 6 rebounds, 5 on the defensive side. Yeah, that was pretty good.
And then Derek White had 29 points.
And we didn't even talk about him.
We didn't.
Sorry.
He had a game high 29.
Apologies to Derek White. It's the Luke Cornett factor.
Blocks.
Yeah. He continues to hit, 17 3-pointers. He gets them up, man. But 5 of 17. I'd love to see a little bit better efficiency there, but
a lot of those looks were really tough looks in the fourth quarter.
Yeah. And that's his thing, right?
Because they weren't. That's all they were getting.
When Wemby was in there, it's tough. And you start settling. It's just natural. All right, we got a football game to go watch. Red Sox lost someone today.
They had lost Alex Bregman months ago. They had lost Alex Bregman when they signed him to the contract that they had signed him to, and he was able to leave after 1 year. He signs with the Cubs. Got that news at the beginning of the postgame show. It's okay.
Put it in NBA terms for me. Luke Cornett signing with the Spurs.
No, I don't know, because the contract machinations, I don't think.
Yeah,
really,
it's weird, right?
Because he was able to opt out after the 1 year
and then left. I'm trying to think of a player that came to the Celtics.
Essentially, though, they signed a player. It then Rafael Devers got mad that they wanted to move him out of third base, and they're like, "Well, then go play first base." And he's like, "Well, I thought you told me that you didn't want me to play first base." And they're like, "Fine, we're trading you mid-season." So now they don't have Rafael Devers or Alex Bregman, and they're saving all sorts of money.
I saw
and not spending it. That's the part. Last year they had both those guys on there, and then to bring one guy in, they kind of pissed off the other.
And now they have nothing.
Now they got none.
I'm not a big baseball guy, as obvious by this conversation, but I did see our people have something on Instagram about how much every other team in the AL East has spent, and I was scrolling through, and it was the Red Sox have not signed anybody.
They have not signed a big league free agent.
That's incredible.
But as you brought up, you know what? Hey. Celtics are back at it on Monday. You got the Patriots. The Bruins scored 10 goals on Saturday.
Unbelievable.
First time since 1988.
I should say this. So it was funny because I was out and about today, and the Bruins game was on, and people kept saying "Oh, you have today off or something." I'm like, "No, actually, the Celtics play tonight, and it's after this Bruins game, which might never end because they won't stop scoring." Shout out to the Bull Gang having to turn that arena over. They're the real MVPs.
They knew there was not going to be any overtime for that game. 10-2.
Yeah, that's fair.
Wow.
Punch the clock. All right. We got to go watch the football game, and Giles will continue to educate me about things I don't know about.
Oh,
I just don't know baseball.
They're just frustrating. It's a frustrating
That's
situation.
good. Celtics, not as frustrating. Frustrating night overall. Never good to lose, but they'll figure it out. I'm pretty bullish on the team. So while we're waiting to figure out how they rebound from it, go subscribe, go check us out on the YouTube page. Did you see last night I was just rambling at the end about Ugo, and Kayla had a news hit, and I totally put her right up against the clock, and she didn't want to say anything, and she was finally I have a news hit in 30 seconds. I was like, oh, okay, go ahead. You're free to.
I would have walked off on you. I would have been like,
right?
Look, I gotta.
I said
go
no
do
one
this
should
thing.
ever
I gotta go.
Even if you don't have a news, if you want to leave, like just go. Like it happens, and we're gonna leave now. Bye guys.
See you.